So my two presidents did a podcast together. We have Bernie Sanders and Jon Stewart here. And go listen to the whole thing. I want to say it was about an hour long or so. A bunch of great moments. And I wanted to talk about this part here, which Jon Stewart titled The Tightrope of Bipartisanship. Because he asked Bernie a question which is super relevant to debates that we've all been having lately about how to handle MAGA. So let's watch and then I'll give you my take.
Is there populism for workers a false populism? Because if you look at, they might say, okay, let's get more protectionist on trade and try and draw some of those jobs back. But if you look at all the court decisions from the right, it strips workers of their rights to form unions.
You got it.
It strips protections for workers.
Not only that, but Trump destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Trump destroyed the NLRB. The record is actually it's a fake populism because the record is the exact opposite. We outsourced 200,000 jobs under his presidency when he campaigned as the anti-outsourcing guy. So, on that point. Here we go.
Odd that they're proffering, or are there things in it you like?
Well, there will be, some things that Trump said, some things that Elon Musk said, some things that Robert Kennedy said that make sense. But overall, I think it's very clear. Trump is appointing his billionaire friends to the important positions in the cabinet. And his job is to represent the billionaire class, with some exceptions. He's going to have to walk a bit of a tightrope because he's made promises to working class people. And I think what my job, and people in Congress who share my views, not too many, is to say, okay, Mr. Trump, you talked about a 10% cap on interest rates for credit cards. That's a great idea. Well, you know what, John? I'm going to introduce that legislation. Let's see how far it goes. For years now, I have understood, as most Americans have, that the defense budget is bloated, that many of the major defense contractors engage in fraud and waste, massive cost overruns. All right, I have legislation in to cut military spending by 10%. Recently, you may have noticed Elon Musk came out and said, you know what? We should be cutting military spending. How many Republicans will go along? So when they say good things and appropriate things, I think we should work with them.
How do you walk that tightrope? Because what I find is there is a gag reflex from, and I think both parties have it, a gag reflex on Robert Kennedy says, ultra-processed foods are killing Americans. And I'm like, yeah,
that's right.
God awful. That's got to change. But if you were to say that, boy, are you just dogpiled. How can you agree with Robert Kennedy Jr. on anything? He's this and that. And Elon Musk says we've got waste and inefficiency in the government. And we're like, yeah, we've been yelling about that for years. And as soon as you do that, how can you? How dare you? It's really interesting.
John, that is exactly what the challenge is. I'm holding a hearing as of today and for the next month. I'm chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee. You know what I'm holding a hearing on tomorrow? To demand to know why the commissioner of the FDA has not, in fact, at least gone forward with strong labels to warn the American people about the nature of the food that they are eating, which is leading to obesity, which is leading to diabetes. We have been absolutely irresponsible. Kennedy is right on that issue. Your point is that he wants to take fluoride out of water. That's a disaster to my mind, plus many of the other crazy things he says. So you're saying, how do you walk that line? Well, that's exactly what we are trying to figure out right now.
So the Bernie strategy here, which we've discussed in the past, is I would describe it as calling the bluff, right? I'm convinced none of the decent things they say, they're not going to do them. And the reason I say that is the best predictor of future action is past action. And in the first term, Trump did the opposite of all of these things that they're referencing, right? So now, I don't know, maybe Bernie has a slight disagreement with me there and he thinks, well, maybe they'll actually do some of these things. Maybe he believes that. If he believes that, I would say that's naive. There's no way Donald Trump is going to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. No way. Not happening. Not in a million years. There's no way Trump and the Republicans are going to cut the military budget. No way, not in a million years. They take a colossal amount of money from the military-industrial complex. Last time Trump was in office, he increased the military budget every year. This time, it's going to be the exact same thing, right? So if Bernie agrees with me that they're not going to do it, which he may or may not, he's trying to call their bluff. What he's trying to do is say, yes, let's cap credit card interest rates at 10%, or let's cut the Pentagon. And then when they don't do it, he'll go, oh, what happened? I thought you guys were serious. I thought you actually wanted to fix these problems. It turns out you didn't. You're hypocrites. You're frauds. Everybody should turn on you. I think that's what his mindset is, right? Again, there's a small chance he thinks maybe they will do some of these things, in which case, great, to fix it for the American people. I don't care who does it as long as we fix stuff for the American people. Now, as I said, I'm convinced they're definitely not going to do it. But here's the thing, and here's why I disagree with Bernie and Jon Stewart on this. They're full of shit. They're full of shit. And I would say there's a 99.9% chance they're not going to do any of the decent things. And so I would much rather have an oppositional outlook from the jump. I would much rather have Bernie Sanders out there taunting them, goading them, shaming them, and telling them, bitch, I know you're not going to cut the Pentagon. I know you're not going to do a 10% cap on credit card interest rate. I know you're not going to do that. This isn't a close one. This isn't hard to figure out. This is the most straightforward thing I've ever seen. And put me on the record right now. They are not going to do those things. And then when they still don't do those things, I will be beating the same drum and exposing to everybody from the jump that you're fake populists. You're not serious about helping the American people. You believe in oligarchy. And we're gonna crush you. We're gonna oppose you every step of the way because you're not gonna do any of the good things you say, and you're gonna be all in on all the bad things that you say, right? And so that's the approach I take now. I will say this: in 2016, I think this strategy from Bernie made perfect sense. In 2016, it made sense because if Trump, for example, was hammering NAFTA and saying I don't want to do the TPP and fighting outsourcing, and if you're Bernie in that scenario. In 2016, you go, okay, maybe he does mean it. He doesn't have a track record of being in office before. We could take him at his word right now. So yes, in 2016, take the decent things he says and actually try to get those things through. But it's just that this time around, I don't want anybody to be fooled for a second that maybe these people are true populists when we already know they're fake populists. You understand what I'm saying? Now, again, it's a little different. Since he's in the Senate, he's in the belly of the beast. There's actually, he gets to actually propose a bill that says cap credit card interest rates at 10%. So I'm a little more kind to that outlook than perhaps I should be. But I would rather see the oppositional outlook from the jump because they're never going to do these things. And look, even on RFK, the problem with the RFK thing is he's fucking wrong about everything, right? He's just wrong. Okay, don't take my word for it. Anytime you hear a claim that sounds, I don't know if that's true, look it up when RFK talks. And without fail, you will find it's bullshit. It's bullshit. The guy's a fucking anti-vaxxer. Okay? All the evidence is on the other side of that issue. So he's a raw milk enthusiast at a time when bird flu is spreading around and he's against pasteurization. Pasteurization is just heating up the milk to get rid of the pathogens. That's it. Kill the pathogens by heating it up. This guy's a raw milk enthusiast. So in other words, he believes in junk science, right? He's one of these alternative medicine freaks. And alternative medicine, those are the actual scam artists, right? My problem with Big Pharma is not that the medicines don't work. The medicines do work. My problem with Big Pharma is the price gouging. That's my problem with it. So it's a totally different problem from RFK, who thinks that Bill Gates is putting whatever fucking microchips in vaccines and the vaccine is killing you, whatever the fuck variety of anti-vax nonsense he believes. He got 83 people killed in Samoa with his anti-vax nonsense. So I guess my point is, I don't want to give people the misimpression that these people are going to do anything good and are serious. Even the idea of DOGE, Crystal makes this point. The whole idea of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is let's hand over the federal budget to the richest man in the world, this oligarch. Also, they say they want to cut the Pentagon. Elon Musk is one of the top subcontractors of the Pentagon. He gets subsidized like a motherfucker. If you want to cut anything, bitch, your shit should be first on the chopping block. And of course he's not going to do that. They're going to plunder. They're going to loot the treasury. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try to cut every program for working people, for regular Americans, destroy the social safety net, and give themselves more tax breaks, give themselves more subsidies. So we need to be on to this con from the beginning. Again, this is not 2016. None of this is up in the air. It's not a question mark as to how are they going to proceed? What are they going to do moving forward? And even in the idea of getting rid of waste and inefficiency in the government, even that's fucking nonsense. When they say that, what they mean is let's just cut massive amounts from Medicare and Medicaid and pretend like we're cutting waste, but in reality, they're actually cutting healthcare for poor people and elderly people. So let's not give them the benefit of the doubt. And the optical win of, Bernie Sanders agrees with DOGE. That's the thing. That's what the media is going to take out of this. All the headlines. Bernie Sanders agrees with Elon Musk. Jon Stewart agrees with Elon Musk. And I know what they're trying to do. I know they're being nuanced. I know they're saying on these specific issues where in theory they say something properly and they say something right. but they don't fucking mean it, and they're not going to do it. So say that instead. Say that instead. And if anything, you might even have a better chance to up that 0.1% chance they'll do a decent thing. Maybe you up it to 3% just by pissing them off and saying, I guarantee you, you won't do this, bitch. And then just to prove you wrong, there's a 3% chance they do it. Right? So that's the thing. It's like, for whatever the resistance was in 2016, it's got to be triple that now. Triple that. And what I'm seeing is the opposite. What I'm seeing is Democratic hacks totally capitulating. We've seen those people. Or smart, principled lefties like Bernie who are trying to pick and choose, okay, on this one, yeah, maybe on this one we can work. But even that, I think, is misguided. I think it's misguided. They are, I got a bridge to tell you, if you think anything fucking positive is going to come out of this administration, come from Trump, come from Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk, these guys are con artists, man. That's what they are. So don't give them that optical victory, but I've already seen it. I've already seen some like MAGA accounts fucking tweeting Bernie Sanders grilling some food executive. And it's like, okay, really? Is this what we're doing now? Because I guess my point is, when Elon and Trump and Vivek don't follow through on these half-decent few things that they say, it's not going to change the mind of anybody in MAGA. You know, the second Bernie tries to call them out on their hypocrisy or going back on their word, these people are just going to turn on Bernie. They're not going to turn on Elon. They're not going to turn on Trump. We have a 4-year track record of exactly this, so don't fucking play footsie with them up front. I know they mean well, but I think the strategy is misguided. So, put on the boxing gloves. Don't hold hands and sing Kumbaya. The time for that has long passed. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.